Okay, so this is the VCS classroom. There are multiple classrooms around campus. VCS means Visual Critical Studies. Visual Critical Studies is basically a mix between like new art journalism, art theory, art criticism, and studio. It, to a lot of people, if you want to, like, it's kind of a hard thing to explain, but it's very much like studying art history, except in a more contemporary manner. So if you're interested in like writing about art, theorizing about art, um, criticizing art, but you don't want to do it in an art historical perspective, VCS is a really good department for you. So VCS students, we do have a specific pathway and degree program for VCS students. It's BVCS, so Bachelor in Visual Critical Studies. You can also take VCS classes as a BFA student. I've taken multiple VCS classes as a BFA student because even though I do film, I really am interested in film criticism. So you can totally take this class as a non visual critical studies student. That's something that you can just decide kind of in your first year. The biggest difference between like majoring, quote unquote, in visual critical studies and just doing the BFA in studio is that your credits are slightly different. So in visual critical studies, you get 18 credits of electives. Normally, a BFA students get 6 credits of elective, which is about 2 classes because it's 3-ish credits each. And you get these 18 credits of elective because what they want you to do is really like deep dive into a topic that you're interested in, whether it's philosophy, whether it's taking like a bunch of film art history classes or a bunch of photography classes or something, because what you're working towards in the BFA in visual critical studies is a thesis. So just like in the art history department, which we're going to get to next, you're working towards a thesis generally 35-ish pages. It can change depending on what medium you want to work in. I do know someone who wrote a thesis who part of her thesis was actually a video that she made. You are still going to be taking studios, so there is like an interdisciplinary part of VCS program. But really you're writing this thesis and it can kind of be on whatever you want to really deep dive in on art, whether it's like queer cinema theory or feminist theory. I know a girl specifically, we took a couple classes together where her thesis project for the visual critical studies department was about the way that roses have been like characterized as the super feminine flower, how it shows up in marketing. She wrote a traditional thesis for it and then also made that video project for it to actually play while she was presenting her thesis. So there was kind of an interdisciplinary aspect to it. So if you want to do art history, but in a very contemporary sense, VCS is good for you, especially considering art history doesn't have like social media as a part of it. If social media art is something you're really interested in, VCS does have multiple classes that have to do with social media and the way it interacts with art in a historical and contemporary sense. So that's kind of what VCS is. So to break it down once again, it's art criticism, art theory, art journalism, and then a thesis on top of that. And then the next thing is an art history degree at SAIC. So every student at SAIC does take art history. BFA students, which is what I am, we take 18 credits of art history. If you are going to be getting your bachelor in art history at SAIC, you're getting 51 credits of art history. So you're basically flipping it. BFA students for art history, you're basically taking like 2 classes of art history a year. Potentially more. I take more because I really like art history and it can work for other credits as well. Everyone, no matter what degree program you're in, whether you're in the BFA traditional like route or you're in the art history route, you're going to take the first year art history seminar. It is both semesters of your freshman year. It's prehistory art, which like consider it like cave painting, stuff like that, early tools, to contemporary. So often teachers will end with like social media stars that make art, because that's considered like the most contemporary form. Everybody takes that class. So you're going to be in that class with everyone. And then after that, art histories do get a lot more specific. So for instance, I've taken art history of horror film. I'm taking art history of queer cinema this semester. My roommate has taken art history of film noir. There's also like art history of protest art. There's also art history of like sports in art. That's a big one. There's even like art history music classes as well. So like you can get much more into a deep dive, but at first you're going to be taking that canon class where you're going like week by week and trying something or learning something new. So you'll be doing like a week on Romanticism and a week on Baroque and stuff like that. So you get kind of the full view of what art history looks like in the traditional canon before jumping into specific topics they are interested in. The students that are doing the art history degree are also going to be writing a thesis. So it's a 35 to 50 page thesis on a topic of your choice. Generally what will happen, and there are different students that do different things, but you'll usually pick kind of a time period and an area, whether it's like early 1800s France or like 1357 in China, I don't know. And then you're writing from there. And then you're bringing in more specific parts into what you're interested in. So what will happen is you're kind of starting with like area, time code generally, and then you're getting more specific, whether you really want to talk about women in this time period, or you really want to talk about ceramics in this time period or whatever. You're kind of going down to your point of your specific thesis. So for the art history degree, you're getting 51 credits of art history and then 18 studio credits, which is like pretty much exactly flipped from BFA students. The thing to remember is that art history students are still going to take some art classes, so you don't have to worry about not taking art classes if you're still interested in taking print media or whatever it may be. You're just going to be taking less than the rest of us because you are focusing on that final thesis, which is what you're graduating with, in the same way that like a BFA student graduates in the BFA show, which is actually the room that we're in right now. This is the Sullivan Gallery that normally has the BFA show. So yeah, that's what you have to keep in mind. VCS and art history are two different degree programs at SAIC. You can study them outside of the program if you want to, but if you want to focus in them, you get more time to take it and more credits to take it. But yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hannah. So I'm going to go ahead and take the screen back. Thank you so much for joining us on this tour of the Visual and Critical Studies Department and the Art History Department. If you have questions about the school, about the admissions process, you can always reach out to us. Our office number is listed right here, 312-629-6100. You can also email us at ugadmiss, UGADMISS, @saic.edu. And then for information about the school, for more information about the Visual and Critical Studies and Art History departments, you can always visit our website at saic.edu. And for specific admissions questions or admissions information, you can visit our website at saic.edu/admissions. Thank you so much for joining us today, and have a wonderful rest of your